Are they being friendly or flirty? There's a person in your life right now and you can't quite work them out. They're warm with you. They light up when you walk in. They touch your arm when they laugh. They regularly remember the small things that you say, even the ones that you don't remember saying. And they hold your eye contact just a beat longer than they hold anyone else's. And every time you start to think, this might be something, you catch yourself because they're like that. It's just how they are, isn't it? They're warm with everyone. Or are they? See, this is the trap, and it catches good, self-aware people every day because it goes wrong in two directions. You read friendly as flirty and you lean in and you say the thing, and then their face does that polite, startled little flinch that tells you instantly you got it wrong. Or the other way, you read flirty as friendly, so you keep it casual and safe and you talk yourself out of it. And something real dissolves because you weren't sure enough to reach for it. Today, we fix that because here's what nobody tells you. The difference between friendly and flirty is almost never in the behavior itself. It's in something underneath it. And once you see that, you'll never confuse the two again. Now, before we go any further, I want you to pick that person, the one you're not sure about. Hold them in your mind because we're going to run through every single one of these. Before we go on, I'm Liz Rose, a behavioral expert, educator, and decoder of human behavior. I make videos that help you become the confident, self-assured, magnetic person you've always wanted to be. I've spent years in behavioral science, psychology, and nonverbal communication and coached hundreds of people through exactly this kind of confusion. So if that's the sort of thing you want more of, hit subscribe and stick around. Here's the thing you have to understand first, and if you skip it, none of these signs will make sense. Friendly and flirty use exactly the same vocabulary. Think about a touch on the arm, or a gaze that's held a moment too long, or the fact that they remember your coffee order. Any of that can come from someone who's flirting with you, and all of it can come from someone who's simply warm, socially generous. The behavior is identical, and that's the whole reason you're confused. What we need to do is stop reading the behavior and start reading the two things underneath it that friendliness cannot fake. The first is direction. Friendliness is generous. It spreads out. It goes to everyone in the room more or less evenly. Attraction is specific. It points and it has a target. So the question is never, did they do this? The question is, did they do it with me in a way that they don't with everyone else? Warmth that goes to the whole room, that's a personality. Warmth that specifically finds you is a message. The second thing is cost. Friendly behavior is free. It doesn't risk anything and it doesn't expose the person doing it. Flirting costs something. It requires a little courage, a small act of putting yourself out there where you could be turned down. Direction and cost. Hold on to those two because every sign we're about to go through is really just those two ideas wearing different outfits. Sign number one is the touch. A friendly person touches. Warm people are handsy in a completely innocent way. A hand on your shoulder to make a point, a tap on your arm when they laugh, or a quick squeeze as they say goodbye. The touch is real, but it isn't pointed. It goes wherever the warmth goes, which is everywhere. Flirtatious touch behaves differently, and the difference is in what happens after it lands. Watch the aftermath. A friendly touch makes contact and then it moves on, whereas a flirtatious touch, it lingers. It stays half a second longer than it needs to because on some level, the person doesn't want it to stop. And then, this is the real tell, they check. Their eyes will flick to your face for a fraction of a second just to see how it landed. A friendly person, they never check because there's nothing riding on it. Someone who's attracted to you checks every time because to them, it was never casual and your reaction is the whole point. Sign number two is the eye contact. A friendly person makes lovely eye contact, warm, open, engaged. They hold your gaze while you talk because they're genuinely listening. So forget how long they look at you. Length isn't the signal. Length just tells you that someone's polite or intense. What you're looking for is the rhythm. Here's what it sounds like when it's real. They hold your gaze and you hold it back. And then one of you looks away and a beat later, they come back to you and then it happens again. There's this pulse to it, almost a musical back and forth, like a second conversation that's running underneath the one you're actually having out loud. That returning is the whole thing. There's real biology under this, by the way. Eye contact releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical, in both people at once. And when someone's drawn to you, their brain is quietly rewarding them every time your eyes meet. So they keep seeking it, not consciously, they just can't help returning. So the friendly version is warm and steady and even. The flirty version has a rhythm, a look, a break, and a return that keeps happening. Watch for the return. That's the part that they can't fake. Sign number three is the memory. A friendly person remembers things about you. They'll ask how your weekend was. They'll recall that you were a little bit flat last time they saw you, or they'll remember you've got a dog. That's ordinary social attentiveness, and warm people, they're really good at it. But there's a specific kind of memory that isn't ordinary, and once you know the difference, you'll spot it instantly. It's when they remember the thing that you barely said, the name of your sister, the meeting that you were dreading, the little cafe you mentioned in passing that you've been meaning to try. And then it surfaces. Days later, in a completely different conversation, they bring it back, unprompted. Hang on, did that thing with your sister ever sort itself out? You barely remember telling them, and here's why that matters. The brain doesn't file away what it's indifferent to. We store the details of people who occupy space in our heads, and to have caught something that small and held it for that long, well, their mind has been returning to you far more than the surface of your conversations might suggest. That's the direction test doing its quiet work. So don't be moved that they remembered your birthday. Be moved when they remember the sentence that you don't even remember saying. Friendly keeps track of the headlines. Flirty accidentally memorizes the footnotes. It's the one that gets people. What's the smallest thing that someone remembered about you that made you go, wait, they were actually listening? Tell me in the comments. I love to hear your stories. Sign number 4 is the teasing. Teasing is one of my favorites because it's flirting wearing a disguise. And the disguise is exactly why people miss it. First, the friendly version, because it's real and you shouldn't overread it. Some people are just playful. They banter with everyone. They've got a quick, warm sense of humor and they'll rib you the same way that they rib their mates. If that's the whole story, you'll see it spread evenly. They're just as cheeky with the group as they are with you. That's a fun personality. It isn't a signal. Flirtatious teasing is different in one specific way. It's built for you. Think about what teasing actually requires. When someone teases you about a specific little thing that's uniquely yours, the way you always reorganize the menu, your slightly unreasonable feelings about a certain song, what they're really telling you underneath the joke is, I've been watching you closely enough to find this, and I like what I found. And there's a second layer, which is inside the joke. When the teasing turns into a running bit that only the two of you understand, a private shorthand, a callback that makes no sense to anyone else in the room. Well, that's just not humor anymore. That's the two of you building a little world with a population of 2. People don't bother constructing that with someone that they feel nothing for. It takes investment, and investment is a cost. So the friendly tease is general, it'll land on anyone. The flirty tease is bespoke. It's warm and it's specific to you and it comes back. If there's a private language forming between you, one joke at a time, pay attention. Nobody builds that by accident. Sign number 5 is the distance. The friendly version is easy to understand. Warm people are comfortable close to everyone. They're low on personal space anxiety. Comfortable at any distance with anyone. That's the giveaway. It's even. There's no gradient to it. Attraction creates a gradient and it does it quietly. So someone who's drawn to you, they'll start finding small, plausible, deniable reasons to reduce the space between you. They'll take the seat beside you instead of the one across the table. They'll drift to your side of the group without appearing to decide to. They lean in to hear you when the room honestly isn't even that loud. They'll hand you the thing directly instead of just setting it down where you could easily reach it yourself. Each move is tiny, each one is explainable. That's the whole point. So here's the test, and it's a beautiful one because it's almost impossible to fake. Who's closing the gap? If you're always the one drifting towards them, always the one who ended up standing near them, that's one directional, and you need to know that. But if you keep noticing that they're the one who ended up next to you when they had every reason and every opportunity to be somewhere else in the room, that's not an accident. Somebody chose that, even if they never admit they chose it. Friendly is comfortable everywhere evenly. Flirty has a direction, and the direction is you. Watch the feet, watch the drift, and watch who keeps closing the distance. The body goes where it wants to long before the person's ready to say so. Be honest in the comments. Are you usually the one closing the gap, or are they? Sign number 6 is the follow-up. This is the last sign, and it might be the cleanest of the lot because when it happens, you're not even in the room, which means there's nowhere to hide. A friendly person responds warmly, promptly, kindly. If you message them, you'll get a lovely reply because that's just who they are. But notice the shape of it. They're always responding. You reach out, they answer. You start it, they meet you. The warmth is real, but it's reactive and it waits for you to go first. Attraction initiates, and here's what that looks like. There's no reason for them to contact you. No hanging question, no plan to sort out, nothing practical that needs saying. And they contact you anyway. It could be a song that reminded them of something that you said, an article about that random thing you mentioned once, or a stupid meme that only makes sense because of a joke the two of you share. The message carries no real information. Its entire purpose is connection. It exists for no reason except that you were on their mind and they wanted a thread back to you. And that costs something, which is exactly why it counts. Reaching out first with nothing to hide behind, no logistics to blame it on, that takes a small act of courage. You're accepting a risk that the other person might not match your energy. So when someone keeps taking that little risk with you again and again, when they keep manufacturing gentle reasons to reappear in your day, they're telling you plainly, I think about you when you're not here. So stop tracking how nicely they answer you. Track who starts it. Friendly waits to be reached. Flirty reaches first and keeps finding reasons to. Now let's bring it home, because I don't want you walking away with 6 signs and no idea what to do with them. Stop staring at single behaviors, trying to wring certainty out of them. A touch means nothing on its own. A laugh means nothing on its own. One warm message, one long look. If you keep hunting for the one behavior that finally settles it, you'll be guessing forever. The behavior was never going to answer you. It can't. What answers you is the 2 things underneath it. Direction. Do they do this with you specifically in a way that they don't with the whole room? And cost. Does it risk something to reach, to expose themselves a little? Run everything through those 2 filters. Now go back to the person, the one that I asked you to hold in your mind at the start. You've been running them through all of this the whole way, haven't you? And here's the truth. I'll leave this with you. Your body worked this out long before your mind would let you believe it. That flutter of maybe that you keep talking yourself out of isn't you being delusional. It's your nervous system reading the pattern before your brain caught up. Stop overriding it, start trusting it. If the signals are there, quiet, consistent, and pointed right at you, now you know. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.